Me and Rob haven't had sex in like, I don't even want to say it, it's really bad. It's been like 6 months.
You and Rob haven't had sex in 6 months?
No, we haven't had sex in 6 months.
6 months? But they're newlyweds. That's not exactly the healthiest start to newly married life, is it? But yet somehow this seems so in keeping with Rob and Sophie. Nothing these two do is healthy in the slightest. Their marriage is so toxic, so full of lies. And the truth is, they're both guilty.
I've been with women like sexually, never like emotionally. Like I've never been on a date with a woman.
So like when you say you've been with like women sexually, does Rob know about that?
No.
Something's not quite adding up here. Sophie's certainly changed her tune since last season.
You know, I do wonder about, like, because I never, physically went all the way with a girl. It's like, I don't know what that's like. Maybe one day I can, explore it a bit.
Now, before we dive into all of the lies, and yet more lies, let's just rewind to the start. So, the last we saw the pair, Rob had successfully sulked his way into Sophie moving back into their apartment. It's been months since Sophie last lived there, so Rob wants to do something romantic. The only problem is, this is Rob, and Rob can't seem to do anything right. So what's his big romantic gesture? Well, he slaps some smoked salmon onto crackers, adds a blob of cheese, and calls it breakfast in bed. But there's one last finishing touch.
One more touch. Go ahead and use that. Voila.
Rob really is the king of doing things half-assed, isn't he? If he really wants to do something nice and romantic, I'd suggest crackers on a plate probably isn't that nice. And don't even get me started on the ring in the cheese. Why? Why would you do that?
But why is my wedding ring in the cheese? I'm just not the biggest fan of cheese because it just smells bad and it's just not that's the thing, he knows I don't like just cheese.
Yeah, so you're telling me Rob knew that she doesn't like cheese, but he still chose to do that? Someone please make it make sense. And while you're at it, try and make this marriage make sense. I mean, there's just so much wrong here. It just reaffirms that Rob really doesn't know Sophie at all, does he? Either that, or he just doesn't give a f***. I mean, the ring he's just given her, the ring he's trying to make this big, grand, cheesy gesture with, might not even be the correct ring. What the f***?
This isn't even the ring.
It is the ring.
No, it's not.
I wonder why it fits your ring finger.
Okay, maybe it is.
Maybe it is.
So, is it the ring or isn't it? Sophie seems to be under the impression that it's one of her costume jewellery pieces. Rob says it's not. Now, given what a cheapskate Rob was when it came to buying the wedding ring, it's not a surprise that no one can differentiate between cheap costume jewellery and a supposed ring that's meant to be for life. Isn't that just so sad? Isn't it sad that cheap costume jewellery might actually be an improvement on her wedding ring? And more to the point, isn't it sad that Sophie wore it for such little time before taking it off, that now she can't even remember what it looks like?
So far, I feel like it's kind of awkward with Rob right now. We're both trying to have a happy relationship and kind of avoid all the elephants in the room. But hopefully we'll be able to actually get past this.
I'm sorry, but this marriage is so tragic. Sophie, this is your husband. You're not meant to feel awkward around your husband. Now, the problem is, in order to get past these feelings of awkwardness, they're gonna need to address their issues. They're gonna need to tackle them head on. But Rob seems oblivious to their problems. He seems to think that everything's going great as it is.
The only thing that matters is Sophie's back home. So now we're able to do whatever we can do to work this out. You have a duck face when you eat.
No, I don't.
Rob's priority was to get Sophie back in the apartment living with him. Now, he's achieved that goal. For him, that's success. So now that he's got what he wanted, It's gonna be interesting to see how seriously he actually takes trying to mend their broken relationship. Now, from Sophie's perspective, as far as she's concerned, she is trying her best. She is trying to reconnect. She is trying to re-establish her bond with Rob. You see, against her better judgment, pushing herself way out of her comfort zone, she even agrees to stroke Rob's pet tarantula. If that's not love, I don't know what is.
You touched it?
I touched it. I touched it. Oh my god, it was soft.
It was very soft, right? Like velvet.
Look, as usual, it's Sophie here that's putting in the effort. She knows what Rob likes. She's not doing this for herself. She's doing this for him. But just compare that to Rob, right? Rob knows that she finds cheese gross, but he just shrugs and sticks her wedding ring, if it even was her wedding ring, in the cheese for Sophie to have to fish out anyway. That's the difference between them. And there is another perfect example of this difference. Just look how Rob reacts when Sophie shares her childhood love of snails.
I would save the snails, and I built a snail sanctuary, and I put lettuce in there, flowers, and I basically had pet snails in my patio.
You think I'm weird?
Now, is a snail sanctuary a little weird? Yes, but I'd suggest it's not that much weirder than owning 6 tarantulas and stroking their abdomens. Like, the real issue here isn't the animal in question. It doesn't matter whether it's a snail or a spider. The real problem is that Rob has no interest in compromise. He has zero empathy. He doesn't really show any signs of wanting to understand Sophie. But he is trying to convince himself that they're now back on track. So now he's comfortable putting back on his wedding ring too.
I've been waiting for this to be a little more real. I feel like since you're home, I'm gonna put the ring back on. Yeah.
Finally.
The way he did that, it's almost as if he's trying to reward Sophie for behaviour he approves of. She moved back in, she touched the spider, so well done, I'll wear my ring now and you better be grateful for it. But he's not entirely empty-handed here. Rob takes the tiniest, weeniest baby step towards acknowledging his toxic behaviour.
I've realized that I can come off a bit of an ass sometimes in the way I say things. So I'm really focusing on being less reactive.
Don't you just love how Rob's framing this? He's framing cheating on his partner of over 3 years with multiple different women on multiple different occasions as, oh yeah, I've realised that I can come off as a bit of an arsehole sometimes. Yeah, that's another bow to his string. He's the king of half-assedness and the emperor of downplaying situations. But despite it all, despite everything that's gone on, progress has been made. And when we join her a few days later, her best friend Kay wants to catch up and find out how things are now going between Rob and Sophie.
I know how it was before you moved out, so like, are y'all having sex yet?
It's like.
Wow, Kay really has cut straight to the good stuff. No chit chat, just straight to how's your sex life. Now, apparently, Sophie did confide in Kay that her sex life prior to moving out was non-existent. Kay wants to know if things have changed in the week that Sophie's been back. But by the sounds of things, they haven't.
Me and Rob haven't had sex in I don't even want to say it, it's really bad. It's been 6 months.
You and Rob haven't had sex in 6 months?
No, we haven't had sex in 6 months.
6 months as newlyweds, yet something is deeply wrong here. Now, Sophie tries to come up with some theories as to what may be going wrong. She even goes as far as to claim that maybe their sex life was jinxed because she was too tired to have sex on their wedding night.
Okay, on my wedding day, my mum was like, it's really important that you consummate the marriage or it's gonna fail. We didn't consummate the marriage. After that, our sex life was just bad.
But we all know that's a pathetic excuse. And eventually, with a bit of prodding, she finally reveals what the real bedroom issue might be. You see, she explains that Rob seems to need a little more help to get in the mood.
And then after a while, like, he'd need me to, like, dress up and stuff for him to want to do it. And I didn't because, like, what the
Rob's weird.
Now, Sophie claims that at the beginning of their relationship, their intimacy was totally normal. But then, suddenly, Rob's tendencies changed. He started needing Sophie to dress up for him to get in the mood. This dress up, this role play, wasn't just every now and again, Sophie says. Rob needed it every time just to desire her. And that definitely hints at a much bigger problem. A problem that's been alluded to before.
Why now do you need to have role play? Like, what has happened to where now you want her to be some fantasy bitch that gets you?
This is sounding more and more like the porn addiction that Sophie's mum said Rob had. Keep in mind, he's been soliciting and getting off to God knows what kind of videos from random women, but in real life with his wife, it's no longer exciting enough for him. He needs a little extra. He needs her to dress up. His tastes, what he expects, has clearly changed. And understandably, that's very worrying for Sophie.
I don't know if, like, the online stuff got to him. Maybe that's what he watches and it's, like, in his brain. But, like, all of a sudden he was like, I need this. And I'm like, for what?
What Rob's asking of Sophie obviously isn't working for her. She's not game, she's not on board for it, which, considering she's normally the one to bend over backwards for him, she's even willing to stroke his pet tarantula, does maybe make you question whether it's more than just dressing up. But either way, unless they actually confront this head on, unless they talk about it, it will keep affecting their marriage. And Rob is going to have to navigate this very carefully, especially as his actions in the past have really affected the way that Sophie sees herself.
Yeah. Like, the online cheating thing, whatever, I'm not gonna hold it against him for life, but does it make me feel like he's not as attracted to me? Yeah, because
that's valid.
If he was attracted to me fully, why look at other women?
As Sophie reflects on how strange and unexpected life has been since getting married, Kay jumps in and says she just wants Sophie to be happy. She echoes exactly what Sophie's mum said, which is Sophie deserves to be happy whether that's with a man or a woman. And just like that, the topic of conversation now turns to Sophie's experience with women. Do you feel like maybe you're missing out? Asks Kay. How experienced are you with a woman?
I've been with women, like, sexually, never, like, emotionally. Like, I've never been on a date with a woman.
So, like, when you say you've been with, like, women sexually, does Rob know about that?
No.
Wait, hold on. So Sophie has been with a woman sexually. Need I remind you, last season, she told us the complete opposite.
You know, I do wonder about, like, because I never, like, physically went all the way with a girl. It's like, I don't know what that's like. Maybe one day I can, like, explore it a bit.
So yet again, Sophie has been lying to Rob. It's a very strange lie to tell. Remember, when Rob first found out that Sophie was bisexual, Sophie was keeping up the pretense that she'd never been with a woman before. And Rob was worried that one day she might want to experiment. That was a major cause for concern for him. So had she just been honest with him, had she said, I have actually had some experience, don't worry Rob, I've been there, done that, and I want you, that would have given him a bit more reassurance, you'd have thought. But beyond that, the much bigger issue at play here is what else has Sophie been lying to Rob about?
I have hooked up with women before. A couple times I've hooked up with women when I was, like, a lot younger. And I've hidden that from Rob. Like, I should have told him.
Sophie claimed that they already had so many issues that she didn't want to add more problems to the mix. That, she says, is why she wasn't completely honest with Rob from the start. But, Sophie, the thing is, surely lying about something this big is only adding more problems to the mix. Their entire marriage seems to be built on a web of lies. Both of them are guilty, both are responsible. And for this marriage to stand even the faintest chance of working, Kay makes a very sensible suggestion.
Have you ever thought about going to therapy and you and him talking out?
I would rather him do it.
You need to do it too.
I'm beginning to like Kay. She doesn't mince her words, she says it as it is, and that is something that Sophie needs to hear. The fact is, she needs therapy just as much as Rob does. Like, for all of Rob's faults, like it or not, marriage is a two-way street. Sophie also needs to look inwards and take accountability. She also has a lot of things she needs to work on.